Hey, my fellow minor league nerds! Back in 2001, in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues, today's Minor League Baseball, historians Bill Weiss and Marshall Wright were selected by Minor League Baseball to compile a list of the 100 best minor league teams of all time, which was also published as a book. The 1934 Los Angeles Angels of the Pacific Coast League were chosen as the top team, and they are the subject of this Minor League Nerd special episode. Before getting into the episode, I figured I would give you a little information on Weiss and Wright and why they were qualified to complete such a list. Bill Weiss, who passed away in 2011 at the age of 86, was the official statistician of the Pacific Coast League as well as many other leagues over the decades. He personally may have compiled more stats for minor league seasons than anyone in history. His first job in baseball was compiling stats for the Abilene Blue Sox of the West Texas-New Mexico League in 1948. He also edited a weekly newspaper for the California League for over 30 years. Marshall Wright has written several books on minor league baseball history, winning the Sporting News/Sabre Baseball Research Award for his book on the International League in 1998. The Pacific Coast League of the first half of the 20th century does not resemble the league today in any way. During that time, it was considered by many to be a third major league, comparable to the American and National Leagues. Many of the top stars who played in the league saw little or no time in the majors, spending most of, if not all of their time in the PCL. For a lot of players, that was by choice, as they would rather be a regular in the PCL than a backup in the AL or NL. For most of the first 50-plus years of the league's existence, Pacific Coast League teams played between 180 and 200 games a season, with some years being over 200 games played. Most seasons ran from the beginning of April through the end of September and sometimes into October. Teams played week-long series that lasted from Tuesday through Sunday, with Sunday games being doubleheaders. In comparison, the Major League season usually started around mid-April. At this time, the Angels were owned by Philip K. Wrigley, who inherited the team in January 1932 after his father, William Wrigley Jr., passed away. Wrigley also owned the team's ballpark, the original Wrigley Field, which opened in 1925, as well as the Chicago Cubs and the Wrigley Field they played at in Chicago. That ballpark did not adopt the name Wrigley Field until 1927. The Angels affiliated with the Cubs starting in 1921, a relationship that would last until 1956. The 1932, 33, and 34 seasons saw the Angels managed by Jack Leleveld, who had a 21-year pro career, spending 6 seasons in the majors with the Washington Senators, New York Yankees, and Cleveland Indians. In 1912, he established an International League record for the longest hitting streak at 42 games while playing for the Rochester Hustlers, today's Red Wings. Brandon Watson of the Columbus Clippers broke the record in 2007, ending with a 43-game streak of his own. Leleveld began managing in the minors in 1920, leading Omaha, Tulsa, and St. Joseph in the Class A Western League until 1925. In 1926, he was hired to manage the Milwaukee Brewers of the American Association, holding the position until June 22, 1929, when he resigned due to illness. It didn't take long for him to recover, as he was hired to lead the Angels in early July. He stayed with the team through the 1936 season, passing away from a heart attack at the age of 55 in 1941. Teams in the Pacific Coast League, like the rest of baseball, were feeling the effects of the Depression in the early 1930s. In 1933, the roster limits in the PCL were set at 23 players per team, but no team operated with more than 20 active players at any given time. Across the league, Expensive veterans were let go, being replaced by younger, less costly players in their first or second professional season, as a way to save money. No surprise, this saw a decline in the quality of play in the league. The story of the 1934 Los Angeles Angels began towards the end of the 1932 season, which saw them finish in 5th place with a 96-93 record, 15 games behind the pennant-winning Portland Beavers. In September of that season, 18-year-old Gene Lillard and 26-year-old Jim Oglesby became regulars for the team. 23-year-old pitcher Dick Ward, who joined the team late in the season after pitching most of it with the Wichita Aviators of the Western League, also became a regular on the mound. At the winter meetings in December, they acquired 29-year-old pitcher Fay Thomas from Brooklyn. He was a local boy who lived in Chatsworth in the San Fernando Valley and had also attended USC. The 1933 season did not start off great for the Angels, seeing them play sluggishly through the first 2 months of the season. On June 1st, they were in 4th place with a 30-25 record. Later that month, 37-year-old veteran Mike Gazzella was signed by Lillevelt. He had played for Hollywood from 1930 to 1932 and had been part of a touring team of old-timers after leaving the club. He worked vigorously to get into shape and approached Lillevelt about a job on the team. He was signed as a utility infielder, but eventually took over at second. On July 10th, the Angels held a 56-41 record and sat 2 games behind Sacramento. After that, they went on to dominate the other 7 teams in the league. They took over first place on August 12th. The following week, they dominated Sacramento, taking 5 of 7 games, essentially eliminating them from the pennant race. It then turned into a 3-team race with Portland and Hollywood. Come September 1st, Hollywood had taken over first, leading the Angels by 1 game with a month left in the season. Labor Day week saw a crucial series between the Angels and Hollywood, with Los Angeles taking 5 of 8 games, moving 3 games over the Sheiks. Hollywood never threatened again. The Angels finished with a 114-73 record. Hollywood slipped into 3rd, finishing 107-80, 7 games back, with Portland finishing 105-77, 6.5 games behind the Angels. The pennant was clinched on September 26th with 5 games left in the season after the Angels defeated San Francisco 9-6. It was their first pennant since 1926. Pitcher Bobo Newsom, also known as Buck, but was born Lewis, had an incredible season, going 30-11 with a 3.18 ERA, leading the league with 212 strikeouts. He won 15 straight games the last 2 months of the season, which included 5 shutouts. In the season, he won 7 straight games from Hollywood. All of this led to him being named the league MVP. Dick Ward went 25-9 with a 3.25 ERA, finishing behind Newsom with 172 strikeouts. Fay Thomas went 20-14 with a 3.75 ERA, winning his last 7 decisions. The 3 pitchers went a combined 32-9 the last 2 months of the season. Gene Lillard led the league with 43 homers while driving in 149, hitting .307. 20-year-old Tuck Steinbach, who was in his second and last season with Los Angeles, until rejoining the team at the age of 35 in 1947, hit .335 and drove in 148. Mike Gazzella played 83 games, hitting .264 with 7 home runs. Jim Oglesby hit .313 with 137 RBIs. He had a 44-game hitting streak that season, which is often overlooked by most people because Joe DiMaggio had a 61-game streak with the San Francisco Seals. Following the season, the Angels lost many of their top performers. Dick Ward's contract was purchased by the Chicago Cubs. They also attempted to purchase Bobo Newsom, but he was out of options and had to remain in Los Angeles. The St. Louis Browns ended up drafting him in the annual player draft, now known as the Rule 5 draft, where he would go 16-20 with 135 strikeouts in 1934. Tuck Steinbach was also called up by the Cubs. With the loss of this much talent, the 1934 season was not looking promising. The team also lost their longtime president, Joe Patrick, who retired in October. He had been with the team since 1921. It wasn't just a loss for the team, though. It was also a loss for the league. He was widely respected throughout all of baseball and was well liked by his players. He was a major booster for the league and the sport in general. Dave Fleming, the team's vice president since 1932, was promoted to replace him. He was a strong administrator who made no major changes in the team's operations. Like the team's previous owner, William Wrigley, Fleming was also an advocate for attracting women to Wrigley Field and reinstated the practice of every day being Ladies' Day at the ballpark. The team moved quickly to fill the holes made by player departures. During the winter meetings, the Cubs sent outfielder Frank Damari and Jim Mosoloff, along with pitcher Roy Henshaw, to the Angels as payment for picking up Dick Ward. Mosoloff was sent to the Kansas City Blues of the American Association for pitcher Lou Garland. They also obtained pitcher Mike Miola from Jersey City of the International League for catcher Bill Cronin. J. Millard Campbell came to the Angels from the Albany Senators of the International League for pitcher Hal Stitzel. Fay Thomas was the only pitcher from the 1933 staff to return. During spring training, Damari took over Steinbach's position in right and showed that he would be an adequate replacement. There were concerns that longtime veteran Jigger Statz, who was 36 years old, might be showing his age, but those fears were put to rest early. He seemed better than ever in the outfield and appeared to have recaptured his speed after a down year on the base paths in 1933. Their catching need was also filled when Gilly Campbell was returned to the team by the Cubs. The Angels opened the season at home, stomping the Portland Beavers 12-2 at Wrigley Field, going on to win 5 of the first 7 games in the opening series. The schedule makers were kind to the Angels as they spent the first month of the season playing at home at Wrigley, though they were technically the visiting team during their second series against the Hollywood Sheiks, who also played their home games at Wrigley Field as the Angels' tenants. Through those first 4 series, the Angels went 23-5, which included a 6- and 7-game winning streak. They led the pack by 6 games. Their biggest victory during that time saw them defeat Oakland 13-3 during the first game of a Sunday doubleheader on April 22nd. Their biggest loss during that time and of the season occurred 3 days earlier when they lost 17-1 to the Oaks. Their starting pitchers were in spectacular form, going the distance in all but 2 games. They went on the road for the next 2 weeks after the first month, taking 5 of 7 from the Mission Reds and 4 of 7 from Sacramento to sit 32-10. Their next 3 home series saw them take 6 of 7 from both Mission and Sacramento. They pulled off the first of 2 11-game winning streaks of the season during those 14 games. They then swept an 8-game series from Hollywood in a series that included 2 doubleheaders to sit 52-12 on June 12th, 14.5 games up on the Mission Reds. Their next 3 series saw them go 14-6-1 against the San Francisco Seals, Oakland Oaks, and Seattle Indians, with them holding a 66-18 record, 18.5 games up on Mission on June 24th. Due to the Depression, the league had suffered a major drop in attendance in the previous seasons, which led to all 8 teams to drop their ticket prices before the start of the 1933 season. With the Angels just dominating the league in 1934, attendance began to slip once again. The league was not in a place where they could afford to have the drop continue. so it was decided to split the season, with the Angels being declared the first half champions on June 24th. They would face the second half champions in a postseason series to decide the league champion. They opened the second half strong by taking 6 of 7 from the Beavers in Portland, winning their 13th series in a row. But it quickly soured after that, seeing them lose back-to-back series for the first time that season. First, they lost 5 of 8 in Seattle. It included the usual Sunday doubleheader, which they split with the Indians, as well as one on the 4th of July that saw them lose both games. They then returned to Wrigley Field as the visitors, losing 4 of 7 to Hollywood, slipping to 12-10. After that, they went on to win their next 3 series, going 16-5 over the next 21 games, moving into first place on July 29th. After taking 5 of 7 from Hollywood to begin August, they opened a 3-series road trip in San Francisco. Against the Seals, they dropped 4 in a row to open that series, only managing 2 victories, with the Seals handing them their 3rd and final series loss of the season. As a result, they slipped into a first-place tie with Seattle. They stayed in San Francisco, taking 6 of 7 from the Mission Reds. At the same time, Seattle was playing just as strong, seeing the 2 teams remain tied on August 19th, holding identical 36-21 records. The Angels then moved across the bay to Oakland for the next series, taking 5 of 7 from the Oaks, moving into first place alone on August 24th. Following that series, they went on to win 30 of their next 39 games, finishing the second half with a 71-32 record. They clinched the second half title, winning the PCL pennant outright on September 21st, with 10 games remaining in the season. They lost at Sacramento 11-4 that day, but were helped by Portland, who defeated second place Hollywood the same day, eliminating the Sheiks from contention. The Angels finished the season with an overall record of 137 wins and 50 losses, which equaled to a .733 winning percentage. It still stands as a PCL record. The Mission Reds finished with the second best overall record, ending 35.5 games behind the Angels. 11 days before they won the pennant, following a 4-2 victory over Sacramento on September 10th, with 21 games remaining in the season, the PCL announced that following the season, the Angels would play a 7-game series against a team of all-stars made up of players from the other 7 teams in the league. The series was scheduled to take place in Los Angeles at Wrigley Field, with the league's fans being tasked with voting on the all-star roster and manager. In the series, the Angels essentially used the same lineup that had powered them to the league pennant. Center fielder Jigger Stats led off, followed by second baseman Jimmy Reese. Left fielder Marv Gudat hit third, with right fielder Frank Damari cleaning up. First baseman Jim Oglesby hit fifth, with catcher Gilly Campbell hitting sixth. Third baseman Gene Lillard hit seventh, with shortstop Carl Dittmar hitting eighth. For the All-Star team, the league's fans selected Dutch Ruther from Seattle to manage the team. Babe Dahlgren from Mission was selected to play first, with teammate Al Wright playing second. Joe Koskarart from Seattle was chosen to play third, with Frank Haney from Hollywood backing him up. Jim Levely, also from Hollywood, was chosen to play short. The outfield saw Ox Eckert and Luis Almeida from Mission, Smed Jolly from Hollywood, and Art Hunt from Seattle. 2 catchers were selected. They were John Bassler from Hollywood and Larry Woodall from San Francisco. The 5 pitchers selected were Joe Sullivan from Hollywood, Herman Pallette from Seattle, Leroy Herman and Sam Gibson from San Francisco, and Dutch Lieber from Mission. Sacramento and Portland were the only teams not represented. The first game was scheduled for October 3rd, with Joe Sullivan getting the start for the All-Stars and Lou Garland taking the mound for the Angels, who won the game 6-4 behind a strong outing from their starter. Sullivan was wild in the first 2 innings, not receiving much support in the field. He walked 3 in the first, with the All-Stars committing an error as well, leading to the Angels sending 2 across the plate. The Angels plated 2 more in the second, scoring 1 more in each of the 5th and 6th innings. The All-Stars scored their first run in the 6th and began a rally in the 8th, scoring 3 additional runs on 2 hits and an error. Garland pitched all 8 innings, striking out 5 and walking 2. Sullivan allowed 3 earned runs with 6 walks and 5 strikeouts. On October 4th, the All-Stars tied the series up at 1 after taking the second game 5-2. They scored all 5 runs off of Faye Thomas, who did not look anything like he did in the regular season, giving up 6 hits. Sam Gibson did well on the mound for the All-Stars, only giving up 1 earned run in 8 innings pitched. One highlight for the Angels came in the 5th inning when they pulled off a 7-6-2 triple play. The All-Stars took a 2-1 lead after defeating the Angels 9-7 in the 3rd game on October 5th. Dutch Ruther needed to use pitchers Herman Pallette, Dutch Lieber, Joe Sullivan, and Leroy Herman to shut down the Angels. The All-Stars outfielders Ox Eckert, Mike Hunt, and Smed Jolly had 8 hits in the game combined, with Hunt hitting a home run and driving in 3. Babe Dahlgren hit 2 doubles and a single while also driving in 3 runs. After a day off, Games 4 and 5 were played as a doubleheader on October 7th, with the Angels winning both. They took Game 1 13-7 in 9 innings, with the second game seeing the Angels win 3-0 in 7. It was common at the time for teams to play 9 and 7 inning games during doubleheaders in the PCL. The All-Stars led Game 1 5-0 through 4, with the Angels scoring 3 in the 5th and 7 in the 6th, adding 3 more in the 9th. Faye Thomas went the distance in the second game for the Angels, but still wasn't in his usual form, only striking out 3 while walking 5. The Angels finished off the series by taking Game 6 4-3, once again coming from behind to win the game. The All-Stars took a 2-0 lead in the first, with the Angels not scoring until plating 1 in the 4th. The All-Stars added another run in the bottom of that inning. The Angels tied it up in the 8th when Jim Oglesby hit a 2-run homer, and Carl Dittmar broke up the tie when he hit a homer in the 9th inning, sealing the Angels' series victory. By winning the series, each member of the Angels received $210, roughly $5,077 in 2025, with the PCL All-Stars receiving $122, which comes out to about $2,950. Marv Gudat led the Angels with a .435 average in the series with 10 hits, while Carl Dittmar led the team with 7 RBIs. As a team in the regular season, the Angels led the league with a .299 batting average, 127 home runs, 1,118 runs scored, 991 runs batted in, 1,935 hits, 326 doubles, 2,762 total bases, and stole 195 bases while averaging almost 6 runs a game. Their defense turned 212 double plays. As for individual stats in the regular season, Frank Damari had an amazing season, one of the best in PCL history. He took full advantage of the Angels' early start at Wrigley Field, hitting .471 after the first 5 weeks, driving in 44 RBIs. He did not fall off much from that torrid pace the rest of the season, playing in all 186 games that year. He won the league's Triple Crown when he finished leading with a .383 average, 45 homers, and 173 RBIs. He also led the league with 269 hits in 702 at-bats, 190 runs scored, and 463 total bases. His slugging percentage was .660. He finished second with 51 doubles. All of this led to him being named the league MVP. Showing that he was comfortable at Wrigley Field, 35 of his 45 homers were hit at home. His 45 homers broke Jean Lillard's 1933 record of 43. In 1935, Lillard returned the favor and broke DeMauri's record after hitting 56. DeMauri returned to the Cubs for the 1935 season, where he had played in 1932 and 1933. He remained with the Northsiders through 1938. From 1939 to 1943, he played for the New York Giants, Boston Braves, and St. Louis Cardinals. He split 1944 between the Portland Beavers and the St. Louis Browns, playing once again for Portland in 1945 before retiring. He came out of retirement in 1950, playing 19 games for the San Bernardino Pioneers of the Class C Sunset League. He never came close to his 1934 stats, showing just what a magical season it was. Center fielder Jigger Stats, who holds multiple PCL records that most likely will never be broken since he played 18 seasons in the league, all with the Angels, hit .324 and stole 71 bases. Left fielder Marv Gudat hit .319, with Jim Oglesby hitting .312 and Jimmy Reese hitting .311. Catcher Gilly Campbell, who played in 145 games, was the last of the team's 300-plus hitters, finishing with a .305 average. Pitcher Faye Thomas finished fourth in MVP voting in what was also an incredible season for him. He ended the season with a 28-4 record, striking out 204 batters. He began the season by winning his first 15 decisions, falling one short of the PCL record of 16 set by Frank Bowning of San Francisco in 1909. One of his only bad outings came on July 6th in Seattle when the Indians hit him hard, with the Angels falling 12-9. That loss ended his two-season streak of 22 straight wins, as he had won his last 7 decisions in 1933. He beat every team in the league at least once, with the Mission Reds being his most frequent victim, seeing him defeat them 8 straight times. He returned to the majors in 1935 when he was selected by the St. Louis Browns in the postseason draft, again, today's Rule 5 draft. It was not a good season for him. Not only were the Browns a miserable team that season, but he was a forkball pitcher, which worked well for him in Los Angeles as it led to many groundouts. But Sportsman's Park in St. Louis was not Wrigley Field. It had one of the worst infield playing surfaces in the majors. What appeared to be easy groundouts would skip through on the rock-hard surface in St. Louis. He finished the season 7-15 with a 4.78 ERA in 49 appearances with 19 starts. He returned to Los Angeles in 1936, playing with the Angels through 1941. He had some pretty decent seasons, but never approached what he did in 1934. The Angels had 2 other 20-game winners that season. Mike Miola went 20-5, while Lou Garland went 21-8. San Francisco was the only other team that had multiple 20-game winners with 2. J. Millard Campbell fell 1 victory short, ending the season with a 19-15 record. He was a workhorse for the team that season, starting and relieving in 48 games, pitching 243 innings. He went 13-6 in the first half, but only 6-9 in the second, with the heavy workload wearing him down as the season went on. Lou Garland's performance was a complete surprise, as he had a very mediocre season in 1933 while pitching for St. Paul and Kansas City in the American Association, seeing him finish with a 9-10 record. He started the season a little slow, but then went on to be a brilliant pitcher for the Angels, winning 12 straight decisions in June and July. Miola saw limited time during the early part of the season, but he improved dramatically as it went on, being one of the team's best pitchers by the end. With these four powerhouses dominating the league, opportunities were limited for others on the staff. But even they performed well when they were called upon. Roy Henshaw won 16 games in what was his second season in professional ball, appearing as a spot starter and a reliever. Emmett Nelson and Dick Ward saw limited action, but were effective when used. Nelson experienced arm trouble early in the season, performing well in the second half, ending with a 14-5 record. When the season began, Ward was pitching in the majors with the Chicago Cubs, where he only appeared in 3 games, pitching in 6 innings. There were signs he had arm problems, so the Cubs returned him to Los Angeles on May 19th. Whatever issues he had, he worked out, as he went 13-4 in 20 games with the Angels that season. Though he had lost much of the zip on his fastball that he had in 1932 and 1933. He never returned to the Cubs and was traded to the St. Louis Browns in November 1934. He spent most of the remainder of his career in the PCL after only appearing in 1 game for the Browns. He may have been a victim of being overworked in 1933 when he was 24 years old, pitching 285 innings in what was his second professional season. At the end of the 1934 season, Pacific Coast League leaders promised their fans that the other teams in the league would be more competitive in 1935. No one, outside of the Los Angeles Angels and their fans, were happy with them running away with the league championship. Unfortunately, though, that did not happen. On June 17th, the league announced once again that they would adopt an unplanned split season, with the Angels once again being declared the first half champions, winning their 3rd pennant in a row. They ended the first half with a 46-25 record, 5 games up on the Oakland Oaks. The 2 weeks leading up to that decision saw other teams in the league finally starting to show some life. Teams were once again losing money, and the hope was that splitting the season would turn around teams' fortunes. Also, to start the season, the league had dropped the 7-game series, instead splitting the week into a 3- and 4-game series. This plan was dropped for the second half as a way to save money on travel. Splitting the season worked, seeing the San Francisco Seals, who were just one of the teams starting to turn it around just before the split season was announced, won the second half title, finishing with a 62-40 record. The Angels did not do as well, finishing in 4th place with a 52-51 record, going 98-76 overall. In the championship series, the Seals defeated the Angels 4-2, much to the joy of the fans of the other 7 teams. The Angels would only win 2 more PCL championships in 1947 and 1956, finishing with 12 titles, before relocating to Spokane, Washington, after the Dodgers came to Los Angeles before the start of the 1958 season. Playing as the Indians, they would win 2 more titles. They won 7 as the Albuquerque Dukes, sharing an additional 1 with the Tacoma Yankees in 1978, after rain caused the cancellation of the entire championship series. They did not win any titles while playing as the 4th incarnation of the Portland Beavers or the Tucson Padres, winning 1 more as the El Paso Chihuahuas in 2016 for a total of 22 Pacific Coast League titles, with 1 shared title. If you would actually like to learn more about the entire franchise, be sure to check out the very first Franchise History Series episode, which covered the history from Los Angeles to El Paso. Well, my fellow minor league nerds, that'll do it for this episode. We do plan on covering other teams on the list in the future. And once again, as a reminder, this is the last episode of this season. Episodes will return next April. But we do have something in the works planned for this winter, so you will still get regular-ish minor league nerd content. And until next time, stay safe, and remember to never stop supporting minor league baseball, and never stop learning about minor league baseball history.
This podcast is part of the Curve Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Data Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum.
And we are the Earn Fun Average podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of baseballmapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.